Oh, hi there, and welcome. I don't know where the camera is. Where is the camera? Is the camera's that one? Hi, camera. Hi, internet. We're here. We're live, and obviously things are. I already don't know what I'm doing, so that's a pretty good indication that we're live. Hi, thanks for joining us today. We are Digital Eclipse. You may or may not know us from a whole bunch of games, generally of the classic variety. We have maybe you played Atari 50, the anniversary celebration. Perhaps you've been enjoying Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, or our recent first entry in the Gold Master series, The Making of Karateka, or Karateka, or however you want to say it. It's fine. You're just asking, you know, buy it, and you can call it whatever you want. But today we're here to talk about Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which is one of the most influential computer RPG games of all time, and it has been unavailable in any commercial form for 2 decades. And so we fixed that for you. You're welcome. Yes. We have a reimagined version of the original Wizardry role-playing game from 1981 on Apple II that's actually powering our Unreal Engine version. We built a beautiful Unreal Engine version on top of the original Pascal code from Apple II, and that makes it much easier to play this classic game on modern hardware, and that's our goal with this. This is also our very first early access game for Digital Eclipse, so this is a big one for us. We just put this out last week. We did a big surprise drop. We really did surprise a lot of people, which was a lot of fun. But now that we've had a week for the dust to settle, we've got a couple of hot fixes out. Figured now's a good time to jump on and say hi to all of you. We'll answer some questions. We'll talk about where we're going. But first, I think I need to shut up. My name's Dan Amrich. I'm just one of the content editors here. But this is Jeff Neckbauer. He is our producer on this title. And this is Justin, aka JxRK. You may know him from the socials and from his artwork. And you are one of our animators, right? You're a primary animator? What's your official title on the thing?
Lead animator. I guess I'm the lead. Yes, I'm the lead. Definitively the lead animator for this project.
Then I will follow you. Did you just learn that? Did you just figure that out?
I mean, hey, it's news to me. No,
we all wear multiple hats.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to play through some of the PC build. This is available right now on GOG and Steam. At the moment, I believe we're running the Steam build. Is that right, Drew? Yeah, we are. So this is available now. You can get this right now. It's in early access. You can play through the entirety of the original game, but you will see some things that are not final in terms of art or audio or animations. We are still sort of giving it the glow up that it deserves, but functionally, you can play through the whole game. I think that's a little unusual. Most early access games are like, we have 3 levels on it. No, you can go all the way to the end of this game because of the nature of what this project is. So if you're the kind of person who's like, I like what I see, but I want to wait until it's done, you actually don't have to. You can have all the fun now and just have more fun as it goes on. So I'm going to be watching the chat, and I'll try to pick up questions as I can field them. Jeff knows everything. Justin knows almost everything. But Justin can speak more specifically to some of the artwork that you're going to see and some of the character animations. Again, there's more than 100 enemies in the original Wizardry.
101.
101.
101.
Justin is busy building.
Justin knows this well.
Yeah, animations for every single one of those enemies. So we can dive. If you're an art nerd, good stream for you. If not.
Still a good stream.
Want to point out that there may be somebody in our chat room who is answering questions that maybe before I see them. Kawaii Panda X is Ian. He's our lead engineer on this title. He knows everything. He knows where the bodies are buried. So yeah, if Kawaii Panda X answers your question, he is a definitive resource for everybody here on the team. So if I see that he's answered it, I might. Or might not bring it up here live.
I might ask him questions.
Yeah, it's true. We may
I
actually.
may also.
Yeah.
We may need Ian to make a call on that. But in any case, the first comment we have is Autolock77. Hi, it says I got the Wizardry and Karateka bundle, and I love them both. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are a Steam customer, we do have a special money-saving bundle where you can get both of those titles right now for a bit of a discount. It's also, I believe, if you just want Wizardry, if you go over to GOG, there's still a 15 or 16%
Something
discount.
like that.
Something like almost $5 off, which is unusual because, as we may talk about, the price point may be going up as we go through this project. So, in any case, Jeff, if you could kick us off with, a simple, maybe 250, 300 exhaustive word history of the Wizardry franchise as it has existed since 1981, that would be really helpful.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Yeah, I mean, there was 8 original Wizardry games, 5 which I believe I kind of call like the original 5, and after that point, it kind of took a departure. And of course, this is the first one, released in 1981, later on NES and Super Famicom in the early 90s. And we take a lot of influence from both. So, we were looking at, when we were looking at to update this and kind of bring it to new audiences, we thought, well, let's look at, the entirety of what has been established up to that point. So that's what we were working toward. And this is the final result of that.
Near final.
Near final.
Near final,
right?
This,
Finalizing.
you are seeing something in early access. We hope the level of polish exceeds your expectations, but we may see things during gameplay that don't work the way they're supposed to. That's the nature of early access.
Yeah.
You guys have been working on this for 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
You were working on this before I joined the company, and I joined the company last February.
Yeah, January of 2022, I think, is when we really started.
Wow. Okay.
And it started off with a mass conversion of the original Pascal code to C++. And then after that, we kind of take the C++, laid it on top of Unreal, and kind of started building these inroads. So we have the original code all operating within the game. It's been converted to C++ from the original Pascal. And we're taking that and we're kind of manipulating that as we see fit, to make some quality of life improvements, plug in UI elements, all that stuff, or modern UI. So even if you see our combat, it's all running the original combat underneath and we actually have broken out the code so we can put the different states of enemies for animations and stuff like that the original game didn't have any of that. So
right, yes. The original game, believe it or not, had no animations.
Absolutely none.
And we'll get into that.
I'll go into the maze actually, just so we can
okay.
Yeah, check it out.
Now, it's funny because I did not have an Apple II back in the day. My dad chose poorly. He chose a TI-99 4A. So I had fun, but not this kind of fun. So what you're seeing in the lower right is the original, and you can toggle this to be full screen if you want. This is the original Apple II graphical interface. This is how people played the game in 1981. And as you can see, everything is just keyboard commands. So F to go forward and L to go right. We weren't even in WASD era at this point.
Actually, we're AWD.
We are AWD, that's
S.
true. S is status here. So the idea was to completely present the original game authentically, but obviously making concessions to the last, 40 years of role-playing game design. So what you're seeing, this is all in Unreal Engine, and this has all been. How big is the team that did this? I always say it's a small but dedicated team. It's only like 6 or 7 people.
The core team is. I think we started off even smaller, but the core team is now 7 people. And a lot of we have partners actually that we bring on and off. Like one of our Secret Six being one of our big studios that we use. We use on multiple of our games. They're kind of a partner studio that we've many years of work with them, and they do a lot of art for us, and animation, things like that. And we brought in some other people as we needed along the way to kind of bring in some expertise as we needed it.
So one of the things you might notice is, well, okay, let's get into combat. I mean, you will not have any. You will not be short for opportunities to die in the dungeon right away in the maze. But you may notice that the character portraits underneath, some of them are in sort of a black and white sketch, and they have a little yellow hammer icon on it. Whenever you see that in our early access game, that means that that is a temporary asset. Like, again, you can play the game and you can see what the character looks like, but we will be upgrading that art over the course of
the
early access thing.
Many enemies later on that.
Well done. You didn't die.
Yeah.
I was really kind of expecting you were going to walk into like an army of 8.
Second level starter.
Yeah, it's second level starter characters, and also the kobolds are cowards.
Yes. Okay.
So.
Yeah, this game is legendarily hard. Again, not playing the original Apple II until I started playing emulated on as research for helping with this team. And I'm not on the team. I'm here to help with whatever they need. But I was stunned at how difficult. It's difficult in 2 different ways. One, the combat difficulty is brutal. Like, you go in with level 1 characters and you're going to get spanked every single time. It's frustrating how quickly you can die. It's also very difficult to simply understand the interface, to navigate the original Apple II interface, to swap disks. Things like that. There's, one of the primary goals of this project was to make it much more accessible to modern gamers, not only to acknowledge all the progress that's been made in the role-playing game space in the meantime, but also just to, like, hey, you can boot it up and it runs on your PC like any other PC app. So you're going to see some quality of life improvements, I think is the term.
Lots.
Yeah. Things that you would expect to be there here in 2023 going, but I'm playing a computer game. But also some of the systems may feel antiquated, but that's okay because that's what they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the big things is, the inspection of characters and stuff and making that very clear to players. Having an interface for being able to do all the things, which I think in the other way, the old system, you had to, it was a trek.
Yeah, I mean, and you can still see that there on the lower right. You can see what Sesmar's stats are and stuff, but it's obviously a lot easier to have a graphic interface for that.
Yeah, and the other thing we did too, as you go through here too, we can look at spells.
Yes, please.
As you know in the original game, well, not everyone knows.
As I know.
As you know in the original game, to cast spells, you actually had to type in the name of the spell. And what that spell did, or what, is to be discovered, and you had to refer to a manual. So what we did here actually is we went to not only did we, bring the spells into a graphical interface, but the text here is largely taken from the manual. We've tweaked it and kind of massaged it a bit because not everything in the manual was correct.
Oh, correct. Even better.
The way it worked. As manuals were written often early on in the process, or not necessarily at the end of the game's life cycle. So yeah, here we have descriptions of all the spells and stuff. This little quality of life thing that in the original game you would have to go and reference this outside the game.
Right. When I started playing, I didn't even know what the names of my potential spells were. So that was a rude awakening to me, because it's like, oh, you can cast the spell. And it's just type in the name of the spell, and they're not like, it's not like you type in fire for fire. It's Halito.
Yeah,
like
Halito.
It's part of the sort of magical language, and I'm like, I don't know what any of these are called. I don't think anybody's noticed, but I have a big gray pouch on my desk, and I was carrying that back and forth on my commute, and inside is a printout of the original Apple II manual so that I could refer back and learn as I went.
That's smart.
So you don't have to do that anymore.
You can if you want, but.
Yeah, Justin, you mentioned this before. When you start playing this version of Wizardry, we do give you a little leg up from the legendary difficulty and the brutal frustration of sending adventurers down into the labyrinth and having them die instantly. We do start you with some level 2 characters. What are these guys called? The Soft Talk All-Stars? That's what I've heard them referred to online. Yeah, like
sure.
I don't know, but these are sort of like well-known characters within the lore of Wizardry. So we give you like level 2 versions of them so that you don't get killed immediately. You can, and I have gotten killed on level 1. I've run into a randomly generated nasty group of people and gotten just completely shellacked. But if you play this version and you don't want to create your own custom characters, which you certainly can, we can get into that a little bit later. You have a better chance of not dying instantly, but not a non-zero chance.
Right.
No, we also wanted the ability for people to just jump in and try playing right away, and then I know personally every time I get an RPG, I spend way too much in the character creator. I didn't want folks to sort of get too attached to these initial characters. So I think it's really handy for someone to jump in, try it out, see how they feel
for the game.
Yeah, before they really put their lifeblood into creating some characters.
Before you name all our characters after your family members and friends and loved ones, and then they just watch them get cut down left and right.
Oh, I learned that mistake on The Sims. That caused family arguments. Having family member named Sims do things that the real people would not do.
We're not helping them. What?
Yeah, I used to name my dungeon party after loved ones, but then it was just like I just killed my wife, and
it happens.
And then she hears, and the other one she's like, what? And then you have so it's just a game. Yeah. Why are you making a game out of killing me? That kind of stuff. It gets awkward, so don't do it. Yeah. Just come up with some random names.
Yes.
Or name them all after your enemies. That's fine.
Well, my policy in the original game was to just name. We were talking about just a minute ago, like name the name of the class that they are. Go in, and then when they get like level 4 or 5, maybe then you give them a name.
Right. Yeah. The thief can just be named Thief for expedience. Yeah. Especially if they might not be your final thief.
Right. Thief 1, 2.
My trick is I always take my name and I anagram it. That's always my D&D name or my RPG name.
That's a fun way to do it.
That works. So if in doubt, do that, or just remove all the vowels from your name, disembowel your name. That works too. So what you're watching, by the way, if you've just joined us, hi, welcome. This is Wizardry Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. I am Dan, that is Jeff, that is Justin, and we're just a few people here at Digital Eclipse bringing this classic 1981 RPG into the modern age. Unavailable commercially for 20 years, now in early access on PC on both GOG and Steam. And your support is greatly appreciated because we have some ambitious plans beyond simply, filling out some of the temp assets that you're going to see here, like these character portraits with the yellow icons. All of those will eventually be upgraded over the course of this, but we have some other ideas too. It remains to be seen if we're going to be able to do everything we want to do with this project. So your support early on really helps. I would love to see if you can pick a fight somewhere. See if we can get into some more combat, because Justin, I have one of those simple questions, which is how do you, when you're told, hey, we need an undead kobold or one of the other 101 monsters in the library here.
Yes.
What is your process? Oh, that's how you get down to the next floor.
Wait, get out your notes.
Yes, I do. I mean, there's a mini map, but I've been failing in reading the mini map. What's your process? You've got a list, obviously. You've got to do 101 monsters. Yeah. Some of them are, similar. Some of them, like there's undead kobolds, there's regular kobolds. Sure. There's rogues, there's bushwhackers. Yeah. You're dealing with some similarities, but take the humble orc, which is one of the basics.
Like, yes, again, there's 101 enemies in the game, and we're being smart, and we're doing what we can to make our limited team do more than we can. So there's animation challenges that I'm working with. That's part of that. But in terms of just general creativity and sort of figuring out what characters should do and how they should act, I've been playing role-playing games like ever since middle school, D&D and all that kind of stuff with my friends. So a lot of it is just like using my imagination and being like, oh, like look at this amazing kobold model, and just sort of playing around with how we've set them up and rigged them, and just spend a little bit of time at the beginning to sort of figure out like how does it look like this character should move, what does it look like their personality is, and then I just start playing around with that and sort of building out and bringing out like their mannerisms and stuff like that. With the kobolds, I figure they should be a little more jittery, a little more skittish, everything. Yeah. So I was having them bounce around a lot more, which was just making more secondary movement for me to deal with for all their actions. But that was part of what I worked up to get those characters there. And again, the animation sets that the kobold has, it's shared with undead kobold, and that's those two characters essentially.
Yeah. So you didn't get any actual kobold. You didn't like mocap real kobolds.
No, not. But for the orcs, there's plenty of. No. But yeah. So these guys were fun to play with, and again, it was just a matter of just like seeing what would be fun poses to get them into.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think orcs are by far my favorite.
Yeah.
I do have a question that a couple people now have asked, Red Galen and Arbitrary Water, both asking about the Digital Eclipse Gold Masters series treatment, which we did to the making of Karateka, and we sort of tested the waters with Atari 50. The idea that we don't just offer a game, but we offer some historical context on that game, whether that be an interactive documentary like the making of Karateka, or extra galleries of art or design documents and stuff like that. And several people, knowing how important Wizardry is, they're asking, are we going to take that approach here as well? Remains to be seen. Yeah, we would like to. There's obviously a story to tell here. There's decades of history of this franchise. And we're grateful that some of the people that helped create it are still alive and available to us.
Yeah.
Part of telling the story of any given video game's history is how much access you have to the people who built it in the first place. So we can't confirm now that there's gonna be tons of stuff. We certainly have ideas that we would like to implement along those lines. We do agree that this is a franchise that deserves that treatment. But right now, the team's focus is, again, this is an early access, and we're just focused on the playability of this title. So until further notice, really only expect this to be a hopefully beautiful and fun to play reimagining and rebirth of the very first Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord Wizardry game. Right. Beyond that, we'll have to see. Time will tell is a lame answer to give, but it is absolutely the truth.
But I mean, support us, like support the game.
Yeah,
support like
that does help.
Vote with your wallets. I mean, that's how this amazing stuff gets made.
Yeah, to put
we can't do it without you.
We can't do it without you.
And you.
Now, if you pledge $50, you'll have this tote bag. Yeah, but yeah, that is true. Yeah, no, sorry. You're gonna get a dev team T-shirt that says Trevor sucks.
Oh, hell yeah.
I want that very badly.
So what you're looking at now is, again, if you're unfamiliar with the original Wizardry, in between your jaunts through the maze, and it's a 10-level labyrinth filled with monsters and tons of dangers, as you try to work towards the evil sorcerer Wordna and retrieve a talisman that he has taken. But in between, your party can rest and level up and sell gear and buy gear and recruit new members here in town. Now, this is one of the few screens in our version that does not let you call up the original Apple II interface, because it's literally just text and numbers. I mean, there's nothing there. You would just simply type like A to go to the Adventurers Inn or T to go to the training grounds. And so we built this whole 3D interface. It makes sense. You feel like you're in a medieval village. When in the process did this go online? Like, I know that it was planned from the beginning, but how long into that 2-year development did
I think until about 6 to 8 months ago, I think this entire level here was nothing but gray blocks.
This blob will be Gilgamesh's Tavern.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for a long time. And I think originally we had something that was very menu heavy, and we kind of opened it up to this like environment like this, where we're going to have a world, where we're going to have little spaces. We thought people want to see the town, and because I don't think that's ever really. I mean, there's been pictures of the town; they're always static. To see something moving around, and and there's a lot here we would like to do too. Like we want to add a little more life into the different areas. The original, the NES versions also had different music as you went to the different locations. That's a lot of stuff that we would love to be able to do. But right now we just have this jaunty music, from the original, from the NES kind of here.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's where we're looking to see what we can push here and see what we can make here. And based on, feedback, one of the main things we want to do, one of the reasons why Early Access is awesome, is that we have gotten a lot of feedback already, which are things that we didn't even think about.
Yeah, you find out what matters to people.
What matters
and you
to
go,
people.
Oh, well, yes, that's possible, but we hadn't really considered that, even though we've been thinking about this for 2 years.
I mean,
so yeah, that kind of feedback is very useful.
Like, the whole time we've been playing this, no one on the team really thought that, people would want C for camp, right? To sit that on the keyboard. And, that makes sense now that we've seen it. And so,
that may sound funny, but we're thinking here like, how can we optimize this for modern controllers and modern players?
How can we make this new? And
everybody's like,
old,
but it's not old enough. Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah.
I want to be able to hit FFFPPP, and actually, the desk version at my desk right now, you can.
Yeah. Yes, so, that is coming.
Yeah.
That is coming. So we have a big. I have a couple of questions actually that I'd like to address before we get into what's coming in the October update, Fatal the Baptist says, how many character portraits should we expect? So more of those are actually coming in the first big update, but how many character portraits total are you thinking are going to be in the standard library?
Let's see. I think we have currently 10 for each, so male and female, 10 each per each race. So I think in total 5 races. That's 100?
That sounds, I'm not great at math, but it sounds like about 100 character portraits in the default set. So that's good.
Yeah, that's our default set.
And Hardly Worgen, Hardly Worgen 71, sorry man, you got me, that's good. Asks, is the entire Wizardry series getting remastered or just the first? Right now, just the first. We have bitten off plenty to chew here.
101 enemies.
Yeah.
In this game.
Again, Worgen, you may have jumped in a little bit late, but the core team around this particular project is about 7 people. And as some of you longtime Wizardry fans know, the legal rights for this franchise are murky at best. A lot of different people have different sections of it, and so to get everybody to agree to one game actually took quite a lot of time. So we're not looking beyond what's right in front of us. Honestly, if we can't get the PC version really humming and doing everything that it's supposed to do and be super satisfying, why would we bring it to a sequel conversation? Why would we bring it to another platform even? Several people have asked, is this coming to consoles? Maybe. But I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to bring something to consoles. We're not going to hyperextend the team.
We're not going to bite off more than we can chew, but we're going to try to fit as much as we can in our mouth.
Yeah, we have pretty big mouths. Some of us more than others. But yeah, so that's a great dream to be able to do. Even the original trilogy, the first 3 games are all built on very similar technology. So it's an understandable question and almost a reasonable assumption. But yeah, right now we're just focused on Proving Grounds. And honestly, that's enough for us. We also do not want this early access. We don't have an end date for it, but realistically, we don't want this to drag on forever. We kind of want to get the game done and make it a viable final thing that we could then extend, rather than just be in early access for the rest of our lives. Because we've all supported something on Steam in early access and then been disappointed that it took 3 years or whatever to come out. We're hoping to keep things very reasonable in terms of the timeline, and we've got a cadence of updates, major updates like content updates, about once every 2 months. I think is what.
Yeah,
what
we're looking at
promising.
about once every 2 months.
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. It will, of course, we're going into the holiday season, so that's going to impact people's travel and ability to do things. So we'll keep you updated. We're hoping to do a stream every time there's a major content update. We are planning a content update pretty quickly before the end of October. Might be early November, but we're still aiming for like late October. And more character portraits for different races. Right now we just have humans in there. So you'll see some more. I'm not even sure if we know which ones are going to be ready first, but whatever's ready is what we're going to put in for the next.
I can say we have we have some dwarves, we have some elves.
Okay. I didn't know if
I have
those
some
were all
gnomes. Yeah.
done. Oh, okay. That was unknown to me. I did not. Did not know. Yeah. You can just please do not downvote the channel.
I love it.
Is there Sandown 2.0 2_0? Is there a VSync or FPS limit option on the way?
Not on the way. Yes.
On the way, yes, but not in the current build.
Not in the current build. Yes.
I didn't realize that was an issue. Were people having problems with?
No, it was something we're looking at too. I mean, there might be some visual. I mean, the game is pretty well optimized for where it is in its status.
Right.
State.
Yeah.
And FPS on some machines can go way off the board and get some visual tearing and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are actually in the process of implementing that currently.
That's exactly the kind of thing that like we would deprioritize until we got up and running. Like that's something.
Yes.
That's the kind of tweak and user feedback that we can use to say, okay, yeah, now let's put that in. Want to remind everybody because we're about the halfway mark through our stream. Hi, welcome, thanks for tuning in to Digital Eclipse. You're watching Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. This is available now in early access on GOG and Steam. What, do you not have enough money to...
No, they failed on...
Hawkwind was brought to the Temple of Kant to be resurrected and was not able to be resurrected.
This is the kind of game.
Welcome to Dice Rolls, kids.
Yeah.
Dice rolls are cool. Why don't you go to the training grounds and create a new character?
Yeah,
which is
a fighter here.
Especially since there's nothing we can do to Hawkwind except dump him in the trash.
Well, you have one more chance. You got one more chance.
You can bring the ashes back as
bring
what, a
ashes
golem
back, yes.
or what? How does that work?
After that,
apply it. Paste up the ashes. You apply it as war paint.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, what you're seeing is our sort of reimagined version. This is the very first Wizardry game, the game that started the franchise in 1981. It has been commercially unavailable. Wait. Do you want to ask the chat to name the character?
Chat, what is the best name for this good dwarf fighter?
Good dwarf fighter, and it's a family show. So I don't want to see, I don't want to see more butts, I guess is what I'm saying. So this is available now in early access on both GOG and Steam. And if we can't answer your question in real time, it's okay if Kawaii Panda X answers, because Kawaii Panda X is our lead engineer on this project. So he's in the chat room. He may be fielding some of the questions that we don't have time. What is my name? Fiber1 says Frank Cifaldi, so you don't have to listen to Frank. Gallico Creed, says Fatal the Baptist.
Is it under 16 characters?
Yes, Gallico.
Gallico, like a cat?
G-A-L, yes, Gallico Creed. Oh, maybe it's 2 L's. Sorry, 2 L's.
I mean, sure, because this is a fantasy game. So
let's just go with Gallico. We're gonna call.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
There we go.
Gallico.
Galicio. Wait,
Galicio. Bonjour. I hear you're missing the Hawkwind.
Yeah. So wait. So. Right.
So we've removed Hawkwind from the. So now Gallico, but Gallico starts at level 1. You can see the other characters are 2 and 3, so they have a little bit of experience. And when you get some experience, you go over to the Adventures Inn, you rest. But there's also, this is one of the things that I did not expect. When you rest, you also age the character, right?
Yes.
That's part of Wizardry.
It's an original part of the game. Yeah. When you do rest in the inn, you will have an increment of your age over time. I think each time you stay at the inn, it's 1 week. Some people ask why we have something called Vim. We couldn't rectify the mental logistics required to say why characters are aging at different rates.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Vim is basically a way of like, it's supposed to be their zest for, continuing
Zest for
on.
adventure.
It's
Right.
Zest for adventure.
Huzzah!
And the original game, of course, every time you leveled up, there was always a chance, based on your age, of certain stats going up or down.
Okay.
So as you age later on, if your vitality was slowly ticked down, if it got below a certain level, your character would die from leveling up.
Just old age. I mean, I'm going through that right now. Understandable.
So for us, the idea of Vim is that when Vim got depleted to a certain level, they lose their zest for adventuring, and they're like, "We're retiring."
Midlife crisis. Go buy ye old Corvette. Okay. So when you're in the maze, you can camp and you can adjust the order of your party. You can swap items between your party. So say if Sesmar gets something as a fighter that the thief should have, a really good dagger or something, they could swap that or change armor,
And then-
or gold for that matter.
And then also like the flip side of that, if something bad happens to a character, right? If they're paralyzed or something or whatever, can't we can leave characters, right? In the dungeon? Or is that how-
you actually can leave them. Oh, I forgot to equip his stuff. Maybe I should go
Wait,
buy.
here, we'll be back for you.
Yes.
Try not to die.
Yes. Oh, I see
This
that
is
you
now-
are stone.
I am not even going to the movies with you if that's your move, Justin. I mean, come on.
I normally would
No, I'll be right back.
come back.
15 years later, that's how I lost my dad, you know? So here we are in Boltax. Boltax is the merchant in town. Boltax Trading Post is sort of just one of those famous phrases that RPG fans, their eyes light up. But now you can actually see it, and obviously Boltac sprung for the flags and the banners so that you would know that it was his place.
All the coin that you spent there.
Yeah. And Boltac doesn't really cut you a lot of deals. You're gonna have to pay for it. But you can take stuff back that you find. You occasionally will find gear in the maze. Sometimes you'll know what it is. Sometimes it's an unidentified object, and you'll have to take it back to Boltax to get it identified. It may be very valuable. It may be super common. But if you don't want it, you can sell it at Boltax at the same time.
And the other option here too is you have a bishop who can identify things when they reach a certain level.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
What
they have a
certain level
chance.
is that?
I believe it is 4.
Oh. Well,
That's
we're
a
getting
check.
there.
Yeah.
Is Sarah the bishop here, or is Tuck the bishop? Okay.
Tuck is, yeah.
Sarah's a mage?
Sarah
a wizard?
is a priest.
Sarah's a priest.
Yeah. So, and we have gotten a little flack for our choice of classes for these various characters.
Oh, why?
So-
Does this fly in the face of tradition, or?
Well, we chose classes that we thought would be good starting classes for the characters to have, like a player to have. And you can always change your class later on. So our thought was like, well, maybe these characters could change the classes over time.
Sure.
So,
That brings up an interesting point. If you have played the console versions of Wizardry, you may have been able to start with classes that you cannot start with here. Most of the time, the character classes are done by dice rolls, so you get a certain amount of attribute points that you can align, to strength or to luck or to agility, and that determines what class you can be. There are some advanced classes that once your characters progress, you can actually upgrade them to a fancier class, like Ninja or Lord, or Bishop is technically one of those classes. isn't it?
Bishop actually you can get at the start.
Okay.
Bishop
Samurai?
and Samurai are possible at start.
You need higher.
And some people have asked, why can't you do that here? Because you couldn't do it in the Apple II version. We are staying true, although other versions of Wizardry did interpret that differently and said, "Wow, we just want to let you be the Lord from the get-go."
Yeah, I believe like the ninja specifically, the requirements are you have to be 17 in every stat.
Right.
So as you progress, you eventually, and you have to be evil. Two choices that you have to have.
I was about to say that's why I'm not a ninja in real life, because they don't
Right,
have 17s,
yeah, 'cause
but
you're-
then the evil part also kind of mixes it. So.
Yeah, you're too kind-hearted to be a true Wizardry ninja in real life.
Actually, I'll go up to the town. I'll talk about character creation a little bit if we want to do that.
Yes, please.
So one of the things we're looking at is sort of quality of life improvements and trying to make your decision making a little bit clearer as to what's going on. I think the original Wizardry, the way that they worked is the choices that you were making were reliant upon each other, but you never knew what was reliant upon what. So, you know, that whole thing about like, oh, I want to make a person, you choose your alignment, and all of a sudden thief wasn't available to you because you choose good.
Right.
Right? And so, you know, so the way we actually realigned, and this is one of the reasons why we don't have the sync up in the front end, we actually broke it down into how each thing affects the next step. So lineage affects your attributes. Your attributes determine what classes you can be. Your classes determine what alignment. And then, you know, then you have full character. And in portrait, we added, that's something not in the original at all.
So this is one of those quality of life improvements.
Yeah,
where
to try to
make it more understandable of why you can do some, you can be certain types of characters and not others.
Yeah, it was
so you can see the relations.
Somewhat unclear in the original game, even what
yes, it was.
You know, your race or lineage actually determined, right? Why do you want to be a dwarf? Well, this is the starting stats for a dwarf.
Right.
That's how it affected things. So
I found this much easier to be able to, like, elves are intelligent and pious. I'm like, okay, so wizards and priests, you know, like.
Yeah.
Not like you couldn't make an elven
Absolutely,
warrior.
yeah, you can. Yeah.
Just the starting stats kind of.
Yeah,
Right.
they kind of push you in a certain direction, and so you know, the halflings or hobbits they were called in the original. We can get into the reputation there.
You can imagine why they're not called hobbits here.
That is a long-standing issue, but like their luck is super high, and because of that, like they're certain good, you know, they're good at agility, so they're going to be usually wind up as thieves. Although I could go here and, you know, up them to be a fighter. I
Sure.
could have a fighter.
Do you also want to
Now I want to do that.
talk about how the other part of the points needed, because that was something else that was a new thing. that was added in,
so
correct?
you know, also going back to the original experience that we had playing the game, you know, going back and realizing like, okay, well, I want to be a bishop, right? But I don't know what that requires, you know, when you're sitting here. So basically, you know, you look at bishop here, it says intelligence 5 and piety 5 more. So right off the bat, halflings can't be bishops right from the start.
Right.
They're too lucky.
But you only needed one
Yeah.
piece of it, one extra point of agility to go thief
Yeah.
with a halfling.
Exactly.
Because you have a natural predilection to do that.
I'll go in the old school option. So
Yeah, Ian said, I think probably 10 minutes ago, now's a great time to talk
Yeah.
about the old school. Sorry,
Now is a
Ian.
great time.
how old school you want to be. So we made various fixes here where we thought were modern improvements. Like one of the modern improvements here is random. You know, we have a set and attribute adjustment. You get between 1 and 3 points, kind of randomly determined based upon age, as you progress through. You know, your as you kind of level up. The original, you go up and down. So we're going to turn that on.
Okay.
We're going to start with random starting attributes, which is basically a roll. You had anywhere between, I think it was like 6 to like 29 points to distribute at your start. So we're going to turn that on. You can also have, there's a spell Demopic, which is used for kind of navigating the maze. We can, in the original game was only text only. The NES version actually introduced this sort of like map that appeared that kind of kept a running tally. So we allow, we have that as by default on this big map, but we can turn on the text only Demopic. We can hide the mini map. So you can, you know, if you want to hide the mini map and you just want to go in and you want to use graph paper, that's your option.
Old school.
Yeah. We can change Vim back to age. And then this bottom one here, one of the things, and we would love to go further with this, but it's, we have the characters talk to kind of give you, you know, pointers as you go through the maze. Actually in fiction in the world, like we should head up, we're leveling up, or, you know, like, hey, I need to go rest. And we turn those on, and it creates a little bit more interest in, you know, the player, like characters actually having this ability to talk to one another.
Right.
So I'm going to keep that off.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was helpful. I didn't realize that some of my characters had leveled up until they said, you know what, I could really use a trip upstairs if that's okay.
Yeah.
So now that I'm back in here, I can just be like, okay, I'm a halfling. Attribute points, 10. Nope. I'm going to keep re-rolling here.
Right. This is something that a lot of people have asked, is like, can I keep re-rolling? Because that's what they did with the original game. Oh, there we go. 19
is pretty
solid. Good
Yeah.
thing. So, all right, it's time to make that thief mage hybrid. No.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the bishop, I think, right? We're gonna make a.
I got to call out to Satan Claus in the first of all for the name, but second of all, pointing out that Satan Claus says, "I want to be a bishop because I've always dreamed of moving diagonally." Also, Satan Claus pointed out that the reason they could not be a ninja is because they weren't stealthy enough, not because they weren't evil enough. That was that was really good.
We're doing our halfling bishop. Here we go.
Got it.
All right.
Good or evil bishop? No, we have to do good. So there's.
What is okay? So what is?
You're like, why did he
What
make
is the
that decision?
gameplay difference between like what do you get for going either good or evil, or what don't you get?
Yeah. So I mean, it has to do with who can be in your party with you. So there is ways. So basically, good and neutral characters can be together. Evil and neutral characters together. Good and bad characters can't stick together.
Don't mix.
So you have to make a decision there.
Weren't there like ways to sort of skirt that issue? I can't remember.
There is
Lie.
Yeah, there is a possibility of alignment changing while in the game. Yeah, for certain conditions.
Now we have okay. What's a good name for a bishop?
A bishop, female halfling.
I kept calling mine clergy.
Baship.
Baship. I have mace. I bash. I'm a halfling
Do clergy
bishop.
with an IE maybe?
With 2 E's. Clergy. Yes, I love it. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't capitalize.
That's all right. It's
well,
okay.
she's small, right? She's
Well,
Yeah.
you can go at it if you want.
Oh, there we go.
E.E. Cummings of halfling bishops. Oh, there you go.
Do again.
Okay.
Watch me misspell it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
There we
I don't
go.
think you can misspell clergy that way. It's,
not.
you're determining how it works.
True.
So again, these are some of these temporary character portraits. You'll see final versions of these. Anytime you see those crossed yellow hammers, that means it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It will be upgraded at some point during our early access period. But again, you've got the full functionality, you just don't have the full shine yet.
Yeah.
And that's most of the stuff that's in here.
Yeah, I think like the the character profile stuff and animations. There's some animations that I'm still working on.
Maynard suggested clergy, like Ollie G.
Ooh, that
Should have thought of that, you know. But,
next time.
We'll see all about.
Prospero wants to level up.
All right, so we got about 15 minutes left. If you have any questions for us, we'll try to answer them. That's a very dramatic level up. We're gonna stream for like another 15 minutes. Kawaii Panda X is our lead engineer. He can answer technical questions, and he knows the lore extremely well. We'll be happy to try to answer any other questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to repeat some of the stuff I said before. This is currently in early access, but you can get it right now on GOG or Steam. I will say that while it is functionally complete, you can play through the whole game. You are going to see some missing assets or some temporary animations, temporary textures, temporary audio. There'll be more audio added, things like that. But if you support the game now in early access, even if you decide not to update it or install it right yet, because maybe you don't like playing unfinished products, we totally understand. But the price is probably going to go up as we get closer and closer to a final product. So if you decide to buy it now,
Support us early.
you will get all of those updates, no additional cost. They're just going to be free updates to the product from now until the time that it goes 1.0, right? So if you don't want to play it in the meantime, that's fine. You sit on it. Oh, look, you get a surprise when it's done. Hey, you get a brand new game, and you got it for less money than it will be when it is a finished product. So want to be upfront about that. We do have an FAQ on digitaleclipse.com. There's an FAQ there that explains most of the big questions. Is it coming to console? What the heck is this?
What is a wizardry?
What is a wizardry? What is this wizardry? We also have a second document on our website that is called the Roadmap to October. And we haven't really discussed that, but now seems like a really good time.
Oh boy.
We are going to be doing updates, content updates in larger batches. Our goal is about one every 2 months. Here for the first one, it's going to be closer to a month because, again, this just went online last week. This is a brand new game for us and our first early access title. So we have a plan internally that we're going to try to stick to. And we'll let you know what you can look forward to in the next step. So by the end of October, we are planning to have the first big content update. One of the things We mentioned before more character portraits for different races. We only have humans. We're lousy with humans right now. But we will have, you said dwarves and elves and gnomes are all sort of probably going to be in there. And again, keep in mind that game development is a very inexact science. Wow, here we go. Here comes the slaughter. So, you know, things that we want to bring out, we're planning to bring out, we want to be honest with you and say we think we're going to be able to get those out, but, you know, there is always a chance that, oops, that one's going to have to push to later, or we hit some sort of technical glitch, or, you know, the artist has a family emergency. That kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
So we are developing out loud, as you might say. So for October, we're planning on that. There's a new, there's mouse control. I actually saw the mouse control working today. This was a big, it seems very weird to people that we would release a computer, a PC Windows-based RPG, and not actually include mouse control. But you know, the original Apple II didn't have mouse control. We do have controller support. You can play the game very comfortably, we believe, with a standard game controller. But mouse control was a big, like, that's one of the first things that we do. Hey, congratulations, it's officially Wizardry. We have died.
This is the experience that you've come
Justin
for.
should have been driving. I'm sure that would have made all the difference in the world.
I don't know about that.
So yeah, we're gonna have mouse support. That should be in the next big content update. We've done a couple of hot fixes to squash some nasty bugs that were really like progression bugs. We had a party bug that we believe is fixed, and we could use your feedback on that. Ian can talk probably a little bit more about this, but you would create a group of characters, send them into the maze, and when you would bring them back, sometimes they would disappear and be overwritten by our helpful default party. We think we've gotten that fixed so far.
It's as if the new characters were like, I'm not, this is too much, I'm out. They just bounced.
Tag out for the vets to come in. One of the things that, oh man, I was gonna say something about that, now I forget, but it's just as well, because I can just talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yes.
Ask Drew. By the way, yes, Drew Scanlon is in the room. We've had a couple of people in chat asking if Drew is here. And yes, Drew is here, and Drew, your supporters support you, as always. And Drew gives a thumbs up.
Thanks, supporters.
Thanks, supporters, he says. Other things that are coming in the October update, this identification system and the bestiary that is attached to that. So this was, when you went through the original Wizardry, you would come across, you know, like say undead kobolds, but it wouldn't say they were undead kobolds. It might say
Small
skeleton.
humanoids.
Small humanoids, and there's a question mark there, so you don't know what you. Oh my God, we're gonna die again. You don't know who these are until you can identify them. So this system, you said the original system in the Apple II didn't really support a visual interface, right? Like you can see that it's very kobold shaped. There's no way around that.
I mean, we simulate that a little bit by having the gray effect. And then every round, every character has a role they basically do at the time when they're, you know, to see whether or not they identify the group. That role is, I think it's intelligence plus piety plus the character's level divided by 99.
Okay, that's
and
easy.
the player doesn't have to do any of that, right? It was like
it just happened automatically each round.
Do that math.
And so, you know, you had this moment. The new identification system actually has the ability for the player to control and actually inspect the enemy to try to investigate those. But which is like, okay, you have to choose to do that. The plus side to that is once a character is identified, you see a kobold, that kobold's identified.
Right, you will remember, you have object permanence with kobolds.
But you also learn more as you go through it as well. So, you know, we actually reveal more and more information as you inspect the characters. So first you learn maybe its name and how many are in a group, and then basically how many XP you get for it. Eventually then you get to learn about what kind of attacks it has. Eventually you learn about what kind of resistances it has.
As you experience them in combat.
There's a lot of data that just was hidden in the original. And one of the things we're trying to do is kind of expose a lot of that, because there's actually a fairly rich system underneath all that. It's not, you look at it and you're like, oh, I fought, you hit things, whatever, it's arbitrary. But there's actually a fairly deep system. We wanted to expose all that in a nice way, so that allows us to do that. And plus, there's also lore for each of these characters as well that was kind of established over time. and we're kind of bringing it to the forefront. So,
All right.
like, you know, ninjas apparently are highly influenced by Hobbit culture. So, you know.
Now you will know. So in addition to that, there's also, as we said, there's 101 monsters in the original Wizardry. And how do you keep them all apart? How do you know what you've seen and what you haven't seen? Yes. Well, there's a great, easy new solution to this, and it's called the Bestiary. Where this is going to be basically as if you were keeping a journal as you go through, and the wizened elders of the town have been collecting data on the creatures and monsters that adventurers bring tales back to town, and so they're building sort of, you know, a giant reference book to all of the creatures in the maze, to hopefully help the next adventurer, like, oh, if you run up against the undead kobolds, this is what you should be ready to do. This is what you need to know about them. Where will the player, because that was not in the original game at all, so this is brand new content that, again, we're like, we don't feel like that ruins anything from the original game, but it hopefully will enhance it instead. Where will you find the Bestiary? Is that something that you can call up during combat, or is that sort of like you go to a place in town and go to the library?
Yeah, so in combat, we'll have what we call a enemy card, which is basically just the abilities and stats that you can bring up for the enemy while in combat. It'll appear off onto the left side of the screen.
Okay.
And it kind of gives you all that data. It doesn't give you the lore entries and all that stuff, but stuff you need relevant to your current situation, which is fighting. And then anytime you want in town or even in the dungeon, you can bring up at any time. You can open up the Bestiary via this in the pause menu, and you can basically review things and maybe, you know, figure out like, okay, I got my butt kicked by this group. What strategies can maybe initiate the next time around? Think about it. Be able to review that back in town whenever you want. So
the elders are aware of certain resistances or certain strategies that might work well on some enemies better than others. So by reading the Bestiary, you can actually get some legitimate strategy help, especially if you're getting, you know, tanked and spanked down there.
And if you also just want to check out the very cool 3D character art that we have painstakingly made over the past 2 years.
If, say, you had some sort of emotional investment in the concept of 3D animated characters, then yes,
Who doesn't?
The Bestiary will be fully animated, and you can see, you know, once you've identified something, you can go back and see it as a reference book. Satan Claus says, 101 enemies gotta die from Maul. You know, which is, it is sort of Wizardron in that regard. Speaking of which, Hawkwind is at 1 of 10 again.
And then, of course, we got Sesmar here, who has 0 kills and 1 death.
You're useless, Sesmar. You're absolutely useless.
Hawkwind's killing it with 2 kills and 0 deaths.
I hate to interrupt when we're this close to everyone dying and giving everyone that's watching closure, but we are just about at time. Is there anything else that you want to bring up that's coming in October, or things that people should know about playing the game between now and the first big content update? I can't think of, I think the other things due for October, and again, you can find the official list on digitaleclipse.com. Just click on updates, and we do have a post there that explains what we're planning to do. But I think the rest is like the obvious bug fixes. We know that everything is not 100% polished, and your bug reports are helping inform what we prioritize as we find it, so thank you. The more explicit you can be, and by explicit I mean detailed, not vulgar, because we've gotten both. But the more detail you can offer us on, you know, what your system is, what you were doing, we need to be able to replicate the steps of the bug in order to squash the bug. It's a truism of game development that if we can't reproduce the problem, we cannot eliminate the problem. So the more detail you give us, the more the better chance we have to be able to actually rectify the problem fast. We understand that, like, people get emotional playing games. This is why we play games, because they make us emotional, right? Because they trigger emotional responses. But when people say, you know, game sucks, fix it, died, that doesn't give us any actionable intel. So if you can, I mean, I always encourage people, you have a phone, if you don't mind, if you've got something that you can break in the same way multiple times, if you have something that you can replicate, please take a little video of that and post it somewhere for us so that our engineers can see it and go, ah, all right, okay, now I think I see when it happened, exactly when it happened. Maybe that's this system that's underlying that you wouldn't know, but our team would. Very good. So thank you for your continued feedback. We are asking for your feedback in both the GOG and the Steam forums. Go whichever platform feels right to you. Wherever you bought it makes most sense. That's where we're looking for really substantial feedback. There are threads. You will find other people that maybe have had the same problem. If you can add details to somebody else's report, that helps us a lot. It's a lot to go through right now. Again, it is a small team of 7 people, and we're trying to simultaneously read feedback and implement feedback. So we may not be able to respond immediately, but please know that we are monitoring those spaces. We do have an internal database of bugs. We are trying to see how many we can solve at once. But most of the updates for this product will come on a semi-regular basis. The next big content update is going to be October. I don't think we're planning any hot fixes right now.
No,
right?
I think hotfix-wise, we don't have anything planned for the moment.
Right, unless something crazy happens, and then we would have to.
Absolutely.
But we'd rather put our resources into these large, substantial updates, which are part of our official roadmap.
Yeah, and intentionally we want to not put too many risky things into those things as well. Some of these fixes that we're doing, they might be a minor impact on the player, but like risky for us to fix. So we want to make sure we get a proper QA pass and make sure we do it right. So that's a big focus for us.
And that's the goal, is get this product all the way to where it should be, make it something that you're happy to play, that we're proud that you're playing, and that feels feature complete. That's the goal of early access. Until we reach that point, you're going to see things that are busted and broken. But again, look for the little yellow hammers icon. You'll know that that's a temporary asset that's going to be updated over time. As you find problems,
I'm gonna go back to that.
Good human fighter, Hitman. You expect to see things not working correctly, but with your help, they will eventually all work correctly. That's the goal, and that is our sincere hope. So I think all that's left is to just nakedly ask you to go buy it on GOG and Steam.
Yes.
It's currently $29.99 as the MSRP. However, there is a discount on GOG. Last time I looked, it's like $25.19 or something crazy like that. And there's also a bundle on Steam, which will lower the price a little bit if you also get our recent Gold Master Series title, The Making of Karateka. So if you're interested in this, thank you for your early support. It really does mean the world. We've been very, very happy to see how many people have jumped on, how many people were excited that we're bringing this back and bringing this experience to modern players. Even some of the people here at the end of the chat are saying, like a Bullet Catcher says, I love this is bringing me back 30 years. That makes it all worth it. We believe that there are games that deserve more credit than they have gotten over the years, and this is absolutely one of those games. Unavailable commercially for 20 years, we are thrilled to be the stewards to bring it back in any form, let alone one that we hope you will find is equitable on modern hardware. Yes, it runs on Steam Deck. The text might be a little small, but we've gotten a lot of really positive reports from Steam Deck players. So however it is that you choose to re-experience this, right now it's just on PC. We'll see what the future brings, but your support now means the world and also helps determine how far we can take it. So with that in mind, thank you for tuning in. I have been the motor-mouthed Dan Amrich. I'm one of the content editors here, and I'm happy to say, for the first time I can reveal this, I'm helping write the Bestiary. It's a heck of a lot of fun.
Good stuff.
It's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy doing at my job, but being able to get into character as I'm this guy with a 17-inch beard, and I'm well, I have heard tales of this, and so it's all sort of being written in that style so that it feels like it's part of the world. I'm having a blast doing that. It's a lot of fun. Jeff Nackbauer is our lead producer, right? You're game director. Game director. That's right. So
used to be a producer.
All the hats.
All the hats.
Fault is what it comes down to. And our lead animator, freshly christened lead animator, Justin, aka JxRK on most of the social medias. And in our chat room, Kawaii Panda X is Ian Sherman. You know him from the monthly streams that he often does with Justin. And he's our lead engineer on this title. This is really a huge passion project for everybody here. So thank you for your support. We will be streaming again probably the first Saturday of October, right, Justin? That's generally, you guys do a monthly just for fun stream.
Yes.
A lot of people like to read into it, like whatever fun game they decide to play, they're like, that's what you're working on next. Right. It's not a hint, it's just us playing retro games because we like playing them just as much as you do. So yeah, follow the channel, you'll get an alert when we go for the next stream in early October. And I don't think we've decided what the game will be. We usually don't decide until a couple of hours before we go live.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to see you again on a future stream. So until then, thanks for your support of Wizardry. We're out of here. We're going to go have a good weekend. Hopefully you can survive the dungeons yourself this weekend. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.